Hello students. Today we will take up another area in social science. The topic in political science today is the problems of India and their solutions. Children, we all know that India got independence in 1947. At the time of independence, there were number of problems faced by India, and those problems continued even after independence. India faced a number of problems, numerous external, internal problems since 1947. And our endeavor after independence was that we must build India into a strong, self-sufficient country, overcoming all the problems. And these problems have to be managed through efficient administration, good governance, responsible citizens. And to solve these problems, it is not enough the government takes certain measures. In a democratic country, the success of the government also depends upon the support and active cooperation of the citizens. So the support of citizens is also needed for our democratic governments, both at the center, state and local levels. So until there is involvement, response, support of the citizens, the problems cannot be solved. Now, let us discuss and see what are those problems faced by our country after independence. Being responsible citizens, isn't it our duty to know what are these problems? Yes, we need to know the problems and also find some solutions to them. And most of the problems that we discuss are human made. They are not natural, they are human made. And they are national emergencies. Until and unless these problems are solved, the nation cannot progress. Hence, the need is to find a reasonable and humane solution to these problems. And the solution is to be found through good administration. In order to overcome and solve these problems, we need very good administration, responsible administration. We need to bring some social reformations in the society and fast and efficient judicial system or judiciary. And this solution needs to be backed up by people support. No problem can be solved by the government alone until and unless the people of the country extend hearty support. So the solution need to be backed up by people support. And let us now know more about these problems. So the problems that we are going to discuss in this chapter, the problems that our country had to face soon after independence in 1947, they are burning problems, they are national emergencies, and keeping alive these problems, our nation cannot achieve progress and development. The problems are unemployment, corruption, discrimination in gender, in caste, and regional inequalities, communalism, status of women, terrorism, and corporate strategy. Unemployment is a big problem, Corruption has become an evil, even though the Constitution guarantees equality to its citizens. We notice discrimination of gender, and in a multi-religious society like ours, where Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Parsis, Sikhs, some people who belong to so many religions belong, there must be communal harmony. So communalism has been another burning issue. And even though the country, the constitution guarantees equality, equal rights and equal status to Indian women, but in reality the status of women is denied. So we'll be discussing about the status of women as a big issue. Another burning issue, not only within our country, also worldwide, is the problem of terrorism. Day by day we notice terrorist activities are going on across the world. And the recent problem that has cropped up after the introduction of multinational companies, MNC companies, is the corporate strategy. So these are the problems that we are going to discuss in the present chapter. So first let us take up unemployment. Unemployment as a big problem. What is unemployment? Unemployment is a situation where a person does not find work in accordance to his capacity or qualification. A person has qualification, he has the capacity to do it, but he does not find work in accordance with capacity or qualification. It is termed as unemployment. And India has a huge population, and unemployment has become a big problem. Unemployment has become a big problem, and there is the reason for that is one of the reasons is the huge growing population. What are the causes for unemployment? What are the causes for unemployment? This is an important question which has appeared in the public examination. Explain the causes for unemployment. Usually, the population and improved technology are considered as the two reasons for unemployment. The growing population and the ever improving technology. These two aspects have been considered as the two main reasons for unemployment. Apart from these two, there are other reasons for unemployment also, such as shortage of natural resources, over dependency on agriculture or excessive dependency on agriculture. We notice in the villages, in the rural areas, majority of the people are agriculture labor. So they highly depend on agriculture, and the cottage industries which once flourished in our country, day by day they started declining, and today we find that the cottage industries are ruined. And lack of skill-based education, unemployment has become a huge problem. So what are the causes for the big problem of unemployment? The two major causes are growing population, improved technology. Apart from this, shortage of natural resources, over dependency or excessive dependency on agriculture, ruined cottage industries, and lack of skill-based education. These are the causes for unemployment, and it has become a huge problem. How to solve this major problem of unemployment? Due to unemployment, we find poverty and poverty related issues. So in order to solve the problem of poverty and related issues, Both the central and state governments have taken a number of measures to generate employment for the people so that the problem of unemployment is somewhat reduced. These are the steps that the governments have initiated in order to overcome the problem of unemployment and the problem of poverty as a result. Steps have been taken to improve the skill level of job seekers so that they can have better access to employment. So, in order to help people get employment, their skill level had to be improved. So, improving the skill level of the job seekers so that they can have better opportunity, better access to employment. This is number one. Providing loans and subsidy to enable people to get engaged in self-employment. See, the governments cannot provide employment to each and everyone. They cannot employ everyone. But there are people who would like to start their own self-employment. But the problem for them is finance. Some help is required to them. So, in addition to providing employment opportunities by the government, they are also trying to provide loans for those who would like to take up self-employment and some kind of monetary help, that is the subsidy assistance given by the government. And when we produce goods, the goods that we produce should be of international standard, world class goods. So, inculcate world class skill to our people so that they can compete with globalized production. When we produce anything and if we want to export it to other countries, they would expect the quality of goods to be of a global standard. So we must try to inculcate such world class skill to our people so that they can produce international quality items and compete with other global production. Every citizen of the country should be encouraged to indulge in one or the other employment by providing job-oriented courses to all. Job-oriented courses. We should encourage that we should engage ourselves or indulge ourselves by providing them courses which would help them in their future job. So job-oriented courses should be provided to all. So these are some of the steps taken by the government to overcome the problem of unemployment and poverty. Corruption. Corruption is another social evil in the public life of India. And we find that the corruption has spread to all strata, all sections, all spheres of our society. It has become a big social evil. What is corruption? Corruption means offering bribe and following any other illegal means to achieve some illegal benefits. What is corruption? Corruption means offering bribe and following any other means to achieve some illegal benefits. Corruption stays away from legal framework in its operation. Corruption stays away from legal framework. Corruption is not legal. It is illegal. So it stays away from legal framework in its operation. Corruption also can be defined as misuse of public authority for personal gains. Public authority misuse for personal gains. Corruption is such a practice. When we practice it, it sweeps away all the procedures of the law for a mere narrow personal gain. It can also be termed as corruption. It is not legal. We keep away, we sweep by sweeping away all the codes, all the procedures for a narrow personal gain. This can also be termed as corruption. And what we find in the present day scenario is corruption has become a contagious disease in personal life. Corruption has become a contagious disease in personal life. Corruption as a social evil. Corruption has a social evil. Now, by practicing corruption, the corruption influences negatively on both personal as well as public sphere of life. Corruption negatively influences on both personal as well as public sphere of life. It influences the economic, social, and political life of a country negatively. Corruption, as we can understand, it is an immoral thing from the political angle. Corruption is illegal, it is immoral. And corruption has become contagious disease in personal life. Corruption of personal ethics and morality happens in personal sphere. So therefore, what we can understand by corruption, it is a corruption in personal ethics, personal morale and morality which happens in the personal sphere. So corruption therefore is a social evil. We find corruption in different forms. Corruption we can find in different forms. In the public sphere, in the public domain, there are various forms of corruption. Number one, bribery. Bribery is one form of corruption. Bribery, in simple terms, is nothing but offering something in order to gain an illicit advantage, illegal advantage. That we call it as bribery. The other form of corruption is nepotism. We find everywhere nepotism. In simple terms, nepotism means showing favoritism or favoritism shown to relatives and friends by those in power. Next one is caste favoritism, showing favority to one's own caste people. That is also a form of corruption. Intentional slowdown of work. See, in public sphere, people go to government and other offices to get their job, get their important work done. So with the intention of getting some bravery or some extra personal advantage, intentionally they slow down the work. They try to postpone, defer, slow down the work so that in order to get the work done fast, they may get some money, bribery. This is also another form of corruption. Especially during election time, during the period of election, all these evil practices find inroads into social life in order to get elected, in order to get the votes of people. So people involved in many kinds of corrupt practices and win the elections through illegal means. So these are the different forms of corruption. Corruption is such a huge social evil that it has to be curtailed, it has to be curbed. So, what are the measures that can be taken to curb or bring down the level of corruption? So, many measures have been suggested. Among them, political will and public support are inevitable for tackling corruption. The most important aspect to bring down or to tackle or to solve the problem of corruption is there must be total political willpower. Until and unless there is total willpower, political will, and supported by the public support. So, political will and the support of the public are very essential, very inevitable for bringing down, tackling the problem of corruption. Ethical political leadership. In the political leadership, there must be some ethics, morale, good officers. The officers, the bureaucrats who serve, they must be very good, they must be very on it, they must have all morality and ethics, and politically aware and educated public. The public must be educated and they must be politically conscious. So this is another aspect to bring down corruption. However, both the central and state governments have established two important institutions in order to fight against corruption, to check the growth of corruption in the country. The two institutions established by the government to bring down or to fight against corruption are Lokpal and Lokayukta. This is a very important one mark question. Which are the institutions established by the government to fight against corruption? Lokpal and Lokayukta are the institutions. Now, in bringing down corruption, educational institutions have a leading role. Education institutions can take a leadership in this direction in bringing down corruption. And in all government offices and government workplaces, installing CCTV cameras and increasing the efficiency of the government. So another measure is installation of CCTV cameras in all government offices. This could be another measure. Avoiding harsh punishment for corrupt officials. Whenever it comes to the notice of the government that certain people are corrupt, they are accepting bribe. So through Lokayukta and Lokpal, if corrupt persons are detected, they must be brought to the legal framework and they must be avoided very harsh punishment, so that will be an important lesson for other people. So avoiding very harsh punishment for corrupt officials. And increasing the number of courts and judges will also help dispose cases related to corruption. All cases related to corruption must be disposed of as early as possible. So the number of courts and the judges who handle the cases of corruption must be increased, so that those cases should be disposed of immediately. These are the steps or measures taken to fight against corruption by the government. The third important problem that we should discuss in this chapter is discrimination, partiality. Discrimination, making a distinction between two or more sets of people. Now, in India, we find discrimination based on gender, mainly between men and women. Discrimination is also going on among castes. So, discrimination based on gender, discrimination based on caste, and there is also discrimination which is based on region. Let us first take up the discrimination based on gender. The inequalities are there between men and women in our society. We find inequalities, discrimination going on between women and men. To overcome the problem of discrimination between men and women, Government of India has undertaken various measures like providing reservation in education and employment, in elections of local bodies. So the government has provided reservation in education, employment, and also reservation during elections for local bodies, Gram Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat, municipalities, etc. We find that reservation of 1/3, 1/3 of the seats have been reserved for women in local elections, elections to the local bodies like village panchayat, taluk panchayat, Jila Parishad, municipality and metropolitan councils. These are local bodies and the government has reserved 1/3 of the seats for women. Going one more step further, in Karnataka, our Karnataka government has provided 50% of reservation have been given to women in all local body elections. I have told you what local bodies are. Village Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat are some of the examples for local bodies. Karnataka government has provided 50% of women in these local body elections where 50% of seats are reserved for women. Caste-based discrimination. Discrimination based on different castes. Now this is again a big challenge to India because we have innumerable caste system, innumerable castes in India, and for our political system, this caste system has become a gift. So discrimination is going on based on the caste to which a person belongs to. So in order to eradicate, solve the problem of caste-based discrimination, certain measures are suggested. So what are the measures taken to eliminate caste-based discrimination? Firstly, right to equality and freedom are included in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. Our Indian Constitution guarantees right to equality and freedom to all citizens irrespective of their caste. But in spite of that, caste system has continued even after this. And Any problem cannot be solved only by taking some legal measures. Taking legal measure is one aspect, but all the problem cannot be solved only through legal measures. So only legal measures cannot eradicate, solve this problem of caste-based discrimination. Along with that, along with the legal measures, society should prepare itself and accept this change. Until and unless there is cooperation, active participation from the society, the problem of caste-based discrimination cannot be solved. The third kind of discrimination which can be seen in Indian society is regional inequality. Regional inequality has become a problem. It has become a challenge. What do you mean by regional inequality? India is a large country and it is divided into different regions: southern region, North Indian region, eastern region, western region, or Karnataka region, Andhra region, Tamil Nadu region, Punjab region. In this way, there are many regions. So, regional inequality is a big challenge to India. Among the different regions of the country, some regions have achieved a lot of progress, whereas many other regions have remained backward. So we find inequality in the progress achieved by different regions in our country. Some regions have achieved a lot of progress and development, whereas many other regions have remained backward. They have not achieved much of progress. Now this problem has grown to the extent that many are demanding an independent status for themselves. Because they have remained backward, they think that their region have been neglected. The main reason for the backwardness of their region, they think that their regions have been neglected. Other regions have given importance, permanence, so they have achieved progress, whereas we have been neglected and our regions have remained backward. Therefore, they are demanding you give us a separate state status, give a separate state, we will do ourselves to achieve development. Then what is the remedy? How to reduce this regional inequality? Now in the Constitution of India, Article 371, which has been amended from section A to J. So one remedy that the government has done is in the Indian Constitution, Article 371, it has amended from 1A to J, section A to J. In Karnataka, in order to focus on the regional imbalances, the imbalance, inequality among different regions, Karnataka government had appointed a separate committee headed by D.M. Nanjundappa. D.M. Nanjundappa committee was constituted and this committee has given special report on various measures to reduce the regional imbalance or regional inequality. Among the different regions, most backward regions have been identified and they have been accorded, they have been given special status in order to help them achieve progress and development, and come on par with other developed regions. Communalism. Communalism is a major problem in our country. Communalism is a major problem in our country, especially in our country. As I said earlier, India is a multi-religious country in which people belonging to different religions, different communities, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Zoroastrians. So in a country where such a diverse communities are living, there must be communal harmony among people. Without communal harmony, without active cooperation, involvement of the people, where people follow their own religion, but they also respect other religions. This is very essential while keeping the unity of the country. So, that concept is known as communalism. Then what is communalism? Segregation of people in the name of religion and creating hatred and cultivating opposite self-interest among the people of different religion can be called as communalism. So, segregation in the name of religion and creating hatred among them and cultivating opposite self-interest can be called as communalism. Communalism is fatal to national unity. Communalism, the existence of communalism is very dangerous to the unity and integrity of the nation. Therefore, communalism is a very fatal, very dangerous to national unity. How? How is communalism very fatal, very dangerous to the national unity? Because communalism creates social differences among people in a society. Mutual suspicion. When we start suspecting, doubting people of other communities, other religions, and it leads to a fear situation in the society. Therefore, communalism is very fatal, very dangerous to national unity. Communalism has the capacity to endanger the integrity and unity of the country. See, our intention, our endeavor is to keep the whole nation integrated and united. Every citizen should have a feeling of oneness. But communalism is one such evil force. It has the capacity to endanger our national integration and unity of the country. So we do not want any feeling which destroys our nation's integrity and unity. Communalism also disturbs the peace in the society and destroys the public and private property. We find that any eruption of communalism in any part of the country, we have seen the destruction of public and private property. We see the enraged people setting fire to public transport system, destroying private properties. So Communalism leads to all kinds of destruction of both public and private property. Communalism also leads to mutual accusations. People of one community put blame on others. They accuse others. You are responsible for all these ugly events. So, mutual, one person shifting the blame on others. One people of one community putting the blame for all that mishappenings on the other community. So, mutual accusations and sometimes physical assault, attacks on individuals and other undesirable effects. People get wounded, people get injured, some people may die, there will be destruction of life, there will be destruction of property. All these are not desirable. They are undesirable effects, and these are all caused due to the feeling of communalism. And communalism affects the unity of the nation as a whole. By practicing communalism, the unity of the nation is completely destroyed. Therefore, we can call communalism is fatal, is dangerous to national unity. So, what is the solution for this problem? How can the problem of communalism be solved? So, the solutions for solving the problem of communalism is uniform civil code. Uniform civil code, that means the rules and regulations should be equal to all. Uniform, a single civil code, rules, regulations, procedures for everybody should be same, irrespective of which religion he or she may belong to. Rules and regulations should apply to all, irrespective of what community they belong to. So there must be a single uniform civil code. Equality among all the citizens. The Constitution has provided equality among all citizens, irrespective of which religion to which they belong. So the equality must be provided irrespective of the people's religion or community. Supporting secular values in the country, in the society. We know that in our Constitution preamble, we have declared that India shall be a secular country. It means the Constitution guarantees equality, equal rights and equal opportunities and equal respect to all religions. So supporting secular values in the society and transcending narrow thoughts in favor of national interest. National interest should be the biggest interest of all the people. That should be our feeling. But the communalism comes when we develop very narrow feelings, narrow thoughts towards one's own community or religion. We must transcend. We must go beyond such narrow thoughts, and our thoughts should be always broader in favor of national interest. Nation is the ultimate interest. So when we take that, irrespective of which religion, which community we may belong to, we are first Indians and then the other aspects. So we must transcend, we must go beyond narrow thoughts, narrow feelings, and our thoughts should be in favor of building national interest. Fostering faith among faiths of all people and develop healthy national thoughts. We must foster, we must bring together, we must bind people's faith and develop a very healthy national thoughts. India as one nation, we as Indian citizens, we are all under one national flag. That should be the utmost thoughts of all people. And citizens should commit themselves for a secular society. Whichever religion we may belong to, whichever community may belong to, but we must develop a thought of secularism. In a secular society, whichever religion we may belong to, we must develop the habit of respecting all other religion, giving respect to people of belong to other religions. So these solutions are needed for bringing down the effects of communalism. Status of women is another problem. When we go back to the Indian history, we notice that the achievements of women during the pre-independent India or during the independence movement, the achievements and contribution of women in the pre-independent era or during the phase of Indian movement are notable. Women, great women like Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai, Kittur Rani Channamma, Mrs. Anne Besant, Kasturba Gandhi, Savitribai Phule, Sarojini Naidu are some standing and memorable examples of women freedom fighters who have contributed great deal for our freedom movement during the pre-independent India. Their contribution is not only memorable one and also noteworthy. Now, when we come to the present day context, the present day women in all walks of life, they involve themselves and they are proving themselves that they are also capable of accepting any challenge and they can also contribute for the growth and development of the country. We find involvement of women, contribution of women in all activities of life, such as in medical field, the field of teaching, engineering. Nowadays we find women working as pilots, as astronauts, police officers, their involvement in politics and also in military service and other areas of importance. But even with that, we still find that the status of women needs a lot of improvement. The status of women has remained very low due to certain social customs, due to poverty, due to illiteracy. And all this has affected the overall progress of the country. It means presently what we notice is women are not getting their required status in the society. Now what measures, what steps have to be initiated to improve the status of women? Children, this is another very important question that can figure in any examination. What are the steps or measures taken by the government to improve the status of women in India. In order to improve the status of women, the government has started Women and Child Development Department. The main objective of this department is to improve women's education and status. Government seeks to improve the status, health and education of women. In order to improve the status of women, their status, areas of health and education of women have to be improved. Many programs have been undertaken to stop, to curtail, to curb child marriage system, Dowry Prohibition Act, compulsory education, and these are implemented as a means of empowering women. Karnataka government has implemented a very ambitious program called Stree Shakti. Karnataka government has implemented Stree Shakti program and self-help groups are formed to foster social progress. So, to ensure social progress, the government of Karnataka has implemented a major program called Stree Shakti, and they also tried to form self-help groups among women. Women's Commission have been established at national and state levels. A separate commission for upliftment of women have been constituted, have been established by the government to focus, to address on various issues related to women. Attempts also have been made to provide a reservation at state and national legislature bodies and also at government recruitments. We have just now studied that separate reservation have been given for women, 1/3 reservation in the entire country, 50% reservation in Karnataka, but these reservations are only in local bodies like Gram Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat, municipalities, etc. And now attempts are being made to provide reservation in the state legislature and in the national level also. So attempts to provide reservation for women at state and national legislature bodies and also at government employments, government recruitments. So these are some of the measures taken by the government to improve the status of women. Another major problem the country is facing, not only our country, this is a problem, worldwide problem. Almost all countries of the world in the recent times are faced with the problem of terrorism. Terrorism can be called as extremism. Terrorism is nothing but a form of extremism. Terrorism is a method of putting pressure on a government. Terrorism is a method of putting pressure on government. Now, terrorism may be based on different political ideologies, different religious faiths, and different ideological beliefs. Now, this difference in ideologies creates a lot of loss for the individual as well as for the communities. Terrorism is nothing but fulfilling its own narrow end by creating panic and violence. What are the major effects of terrorism? Terrorism creates great psychological pain. The major effect of terrorism is it creates major psychological pain. Terrorism also influences the cultural aspects negatively. By practicing terrorism, the cultural aspects of the country are negatively affected. Terrorism is anti-social and anti-national. They are against the society, they are against the nation. Terrorism aims at creating more fear by killing people. We have noticed in any incident of act of terrorism, innocent people are mercilessly killed. So, the death of people by killing people, terrorism aims at creating more fear among the people. So, this is another important question which has appeared in the examination. What are the effects of terrorism? Terrorism creates psychological pain. It influences the cultural aspect of the country negatively. They are anti-social, they are against society, and anti-national, against the nation. Terrorism also aims at creating more and more fear by killing people. Now, here are some instances, examples, where terrorism has taken place at international levels. International terrorist attacks. Here are a few examples. The first major terrorist attack was in the United States of America, in which the World Trade Center was brought down by a terrorist attack. It was completely destroyed, and it was a first major terrorist attack which took place in the world. Another one was the bomb attacks on Bali in Indonesia, and bombing various cities that have taken place in France, Britain, and other countries. These are some of the major examples, major instances of international terrorist attacks. Now here we see the World Trade Center at USA, which was brought down by the terrorist attack on 11th September 2001. It was popularly called as 9/11 attack on World Trade Center in the United States of America.
Captured by a cameraman on the street below the World Trade Center, this was the moment the first plane found its target. The shock, the disbelief may now be fading, but it's being replaced by a cold anger and calls for revenge. This was an act of war by terrorists, using hijacked planes as their weapons, planes packed with passengers aimed at the financial heart of the United States. Uniquely, the whole world were eyewitnesses of the second attack, broadcast live on television as the air
One important terrorist attack that took place in India was the Taj Hotel in Mumbai. You can see the picture, the Taj Hotel being destroyed during the terrorist attack in Mumbai. Terrorists have also targeted many places in Nagaland, Manipur, Kashmir, Punjab, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore and Bodh Gaya. So these are some of the instances terrorist attacks have taken place in our country. Since we have identified terrorism has become a global problem, a serious problem, some measures have to be taken in order to stop, in order to reduce, in order to curb the evils of terrorism. As we know, India has always criticized terrorism in all its forms. India totally criticizes, India condemns the terrorism, whichever form it may be. It condemns terrorism in all forms. Our central and state governments have taken utmost care to stop terrorism. They have taken a lot of care to see that terrorism is completely stopped. The governments have always strived, they have always worked very hard. They put all their efforts to protect the property and life of ordinary people. The life and property of ordinary people are being protected with the efforts of the government. Now, in order to fight against these dangerous terrorist forces, some special elite forces have been formed to tackle these kind of terrorists. We know some examples of such elite forces. NSG, National Security Guards. In our day-to-day terms, we call them as black cats or commandos. These commandos or black cats are some of the elite forces who have received special training in dealing with the terrorist activities. And India, being a peace-loving country, has undertaken many initiatives to stop terrorism. The government of India has taken a number of measures, number of steps, number of initiatives, being a peace-loving country, to stop terrorism, because India is a peace-loving country. It always wishes peace both within the country and outside the country. The last problem that we are going to discuss is corporate strategy. The corporate strategy has become an important challenge to the government during the 21st century. What is corporate strategy? A group of administrative measures undertaken by a company to achieve a predetermined target is called corporate strategy. What is the present condition, present status of corporate strategy in our country? Globalized environment and modern technology. In the present day modern world, with high levels of a global environment and modern technology, the main aim of the corporate strategy at present is to maximize profits of the company. The main objective, the very purpose of these big multinational companies is to maximize profits of the company. When the main aim of the companies is to maximize profits of the company, that will affect the people, that will affect the society, and it will have a negative effect on the country, because the main objective of these companies are only to maximize profits, and they can do that only by making use of the people of the country. And they are such a strong influential force that very often these companies also influence on decisions of the government. So this is the present condition or status of the corporate strategy. Now the corporate strategy, the methods they employed, the strategy they make use of in order to maximize profit, which will have a very negative effect on both the people, the society and the government. So it is a dangerous phenomenon. But the government can act very positively, very effectively, very cleverly, and on the positive side to nullify the effect of the negativity, to make the effects positive both for the people and the society, certain measures can be taken. The government can make the same corporate companies to employ and alleviate. That means we can make these corporate companies that can be employed, they can be used in order to alleviate, solve the problems like poverty. So the corporate companies who are under the control of the government, they can be made to solve the problems of the country, the main problems such as poverty. So the positive aspect, the positive side of the corporate strategy, that they can be taken, they can be asked to solve the problems like poverty. They can be used on the positive side to overcome the problem of malnutrition. Malnutrition among poor people, malnutrition among women, malnutrition among children. They can also be employed in health aspects, health improvement aspects. And these corporate companies can also be made use of to provide skill training and many other aspects of society through a program called Corporate Responsibility Programs, in short CSR. So in order to nullify the negative effects of corporate strategy, we can convert them on the positive side also. The same corporate companies may be asked to employ to alleviate social problems like poverty, malnutrition and health, and skill training and many other aspects of society can be incorporated through a program called Corporate Responsibility Program. But to achieve all this, the governments need to mandate, the governments need to direct, the governments need to put lot of pressure on the corporates, companies through such initiative at appropriate legal measures. In order to get these problem solved, corporate strategy problem solved, the government need to put mandate. To do that, they need to take some legal measures, some rules, regulations, ordinances have to be passed so that the corporate companies may be used positively to alleviate the social responsibility programs. Only with such initiative, only by taking such initiative or measures, the Indian society can be channelized, can be directed, and the corporate companies can channelize the strategies which are known as corporate strategies in favor of the society. So, the first thing is the government should mandate all those measures through some legal procedures, acts, laws, and through which the corporate companies can be asked to channelize through, and they can change their strategies, and those strategies will be in favor of the society, which will be helpful to the society. So that is the end of the political science lesson number 1. And let us have a look at today's assignment. Question number 1. What is meant by unemployment? 2. What are the steps undertaken for solving unemployment? What is meant by corruption? Which are the institutions established by government to bring down corruption? What is meant by communalism? How can communalism be solved? What are the negative effects of terrorism? What is meant by corporate strategy? So that is the end of the political science chapter number 1. Thank you, children. Have a good day. In our next class, we will focus on the lessons in history. We will take up some history lessons from the next class onwards. Thank you very much.